Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone is well. Let me just get some things started. Let me get a tune started to give everyone a chance to get comfortable, and then we'll press on. So, there we are. Yeah. Let's see. Will this play? Quite like that tune. Gave it a star. Might save it for later. So let's do quick pleasantries. So first here wins a prize. Singletown Bachelor. Good evening. DM. Good evening, ma'am. Iridium Kush. Good evening, sir. Russ Shackleford. Good evening, sir. Mika Outlaw. Good evening, sir. Let's get rid of that. And funny enough, I was looking for a Google. You type in Blackpill in Google Images, and I didn't see anything coming up. So instead, I found a different picture to have in the back. Oh, get rid of that. Get rid of that. Right. Share screen. I found a different picture. Which one is it? Kind of bleak, but at the same time, a little bit of hope. And I guess, in a way, this sort of represents my take of what I think is the black pill. As opposed to, oh, maybe I should have shown. All right, imagine a world of darkness, utter decay, and more bit. I mean, I think this is what a lot of black pills seem to envision. Now, this stream is brought to you in response to Iridium Kush and Bullets for Teeth. I hope Bullets pops by, so you can thank them for this. And it's not, it's because it's not the first time that I've encountered this kind of confusion with black pill, and I'm not angry about that or perturbed by it. It seems to be a area of, how would you describe it? Principles, philosophy, area of mindset, of thinking, of analyzing, awareness, however, that Well, I think it's in a bit of a niche sector anyway. And what ends up getting picked up upon by the rest, the external people who don't associate themselves with Blackpill, in a general way, is this idea of it sort of being nihilistic, fatalistic, defeatist, pessimistic, misery, doom, gloom, just all this kind of boo-hoo sort of stuff. And in that sense, it kind of hurts my feelings a little bit because I don't see it like that. I recognize that I can see how people can maybe fall into this trap of pessimism, but trying to be positive here. So on the whole, as doom and gloom, or as well, I have to acknowledge it. There might be an element of like masochism built into this. It's like, it's like we're all going to die. Isn't it wonderful? But there is positivity behind that because it means there's a lesson there. It means don't waste your life. Don't squander it. And this is I think the functionality or the purpose of what the black pill is. Maybe it's failing in its attempt to try and convey this message. So it kind of makes me think that there's a bit of a, I feel hesitant to say like the true black pill approach, because I'm kind of inferring as if I am a true black pillar, and I'm not trying to police the definitions here. You're all welcome to your own definitions, see it how you want, take from it what you want as well. That's probably more importantly is what about the black pill can be of use, instead of just disregarding it and turning your eye from it. Maybe there is some useful, even if it might only be a few lessons, there might be very important lessons, crucial lessons that can be taken from it. But for those who do consider themselves as black pill and they got this mindset of pessimism or depression or learned helplessness, a large amount of learned helplessness I notice being spouted out from these people, it's very disappointing. It's kind of like, I think the error comes across from the misinterpretation. So some of the sentiments you might hear they're like half truths in a way. And if you want to look at it with this negative lens, then no wonder you're going to have you're going to dwell in self-pitying. Whereas if you understand what is the intention is not to try and put you into your grave, to put you down and keep you beneath the heel of the foot or the boot. It's actually, I believe anyway, to recognize that, whoa, the way you're going is you're positioning yourself beneath that heel, and that's not really a good. I mean, do you find that much solace in your depression? Does it really bring you that much comfort? Because you don't seem to be happy about it. I mean, you're wallowing in self-pity. What is it you're trying to achieve here? Are you trying to sympathy garner? Are you looking for people to care for you? And so you might notice already it ends up with the black pill approach, at least from my perspective, it asks you deeper questions, more sensitive questions, ones that you might not necessarily, well, probably most likely won't be comfortable being honest enough to answer them truly. And then you'll start like meandering around to find excuses, and this doesn't really satisfy the aspects of the black pill, because you're being evasive. You instead of someone who wants to acknowledge truth, you're more interested in trying to spin things around to justify this this learned helplessness behavior. And that means fundamentally that it starts to become like kind of like laziness, which flies in the face when here I am saying that black pill is meant to make you think even deeper and longer. And then you've got people who are calling themselves black pill who are more interested in lazy think of not having to put any effort in and waddle along in life. It just doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't compute. It's kind of like, if what you're saying is true, that there's no point to anything, everything is meaningless, that your life is a shambles and there's no sunshine or rainbows or anything to hope for, then why is it you're here then? Not to encourage self-deletion, but it brings up the question. It's like, so what is it that's keeping you here then? There must be something. Now, what's the answer? And the thing is, it's not for any of us. Like, the answer doesn't really matter to any of us. It matters to that person individually, and it could be kept private. And that's the point of the black pill, in my opinion. It's a solitude type of introspection. It doesn't. These are questions you ask yourself. You don't have to necessarily explicitly express them outwardly to other people. And these answers aren't for other people either. These are answers that you have to live with yourself. So then another question comes along. What kind of answer are you giving yourself? Is it a lie? Are you basically having to lie to yourself to make yourself feel comfortable? Or can you actually be honest enough to start telling yourself the truth and find actual meaning that matters? Now, with those 2 points there, we end up bringing the element of pain endurance, because uncomfortable truth is something pain inducing. So whether or not this person, this individual, has the tolerance to well, they will need to have the tolerance to be able to withstand the deep diving into oblivion, as it were. I'm trying not to get too imaginative, but this would be like emotional language. So black pill is very heavily emotionally based, so you're having a deep dive into the dark abyss, and there is a lot of pressure, a lot of pain, a lot of uncomfortableness, and if you're able to sort of build up that resilience, this is why I'm saying, like, maybe there's a little bit of an element of like masochism, because you start to realize that, hey, it does sting, but you know what, it's kind of like a good pain in a way. It's kind of like, I've endured it enough to realize I know that this pain isn't going to kill me. It's kind of like, how do you know you're not dreaming? You give yourself a pinch. It's like, so you're happy to give yourself a pinch in order to know that you're not dreaming. So there can be a bit of a catharsis or a relief, knowing that you still have feeling, that you haven't been devoid of all emotions, and that things don't hurt anymore, and that your heart has gone cold. You appreciate that, there is a heart there. It's buried deep within that abyss, and it's your job to sort of find it and see what it is that matters, the substance, the meaning of it all, and all this sort of good stuff, and attend to your emotional needs more appropriately in a sort of parental kind of way. So there's that part of it, the pain side of it, and there's also, as you would imagine, this is deep diving a lot of questioning lines of thinking is very time consuming. So this is energy depleting, and you can see maybe why the black pill can become a bit of a niche, where people perhaps they might think on the one, it's like, yeah, I did, yesterday I did a bit of self-reflecting. Well, I guess I call that black pill. It's like, well, maybe a little bit, but really the black pill, this process of self-reflecting is much more of like a journey aspect. It's going to be like more than one day, it's going to probably more likely be throughout your life. And so having that dedication to self-discovery becomes taxing in terms of, you know, your mental resources, like allocating brain power to, and having the time and the pain threshold, the willingness to do these explorations, which also kind of, if you understand what it's like, ask yourself a question like, so why would someone invest so much into something that might seem so mundane? And you probably derive some sort of answer, which is because it matters that a great deal to this person, like without doing so, well, maybe they do so in order to have a sense of security, to better know themselves so that they can fundamentally trust themselves better. I mean, what better relationship to have, never mind with your family or with your friends or with a spouse, than the relationship you have with yourself. And in part, maybe this is what Blackpill is about. It's about trying to find yourself and be able to have a relationship, be able to be comfortable with living with yourself, regardless of what kind of status you might have or where you are in life, how life has treated you. It's those are sort of variables, or those are neither here nor there when it comes, in my mind, like in my opinion, to the black pill. It's regardless of what's happened to you, your past, for example, like we've all got history, you know, but despite all of that, despite where you were born, how you were raised, it's like, here you are now. What is it you plan to be doing? What is it you want? Where are you going? And that's a general kind of overview of what I see with the black pill. And this is, I don't, with these other so-called black pillars who are talking up, this is what I'm saying, like with Kush and Bullets bringing up, you guys and whoever else has these encounters and experiences, I hear about the focus on the external, on, oh, I'm only 3 foot tall, I'm ugly, I got no money, and this means I'm not going to be successful in society. This isn't introspecting. It might sound a little bit like it is because they're having this sort of, they're looking at themselves and they're pushing themselves down, but it's actually heavily geared towards this idea of, I can't fit into society. So that makes it extroversion. It's I don't meet the grade or the standard to fit into society. So it's like, where is the, you see the motivation is not so much of self-contentment. The motivation is the integration with, is the approval of external bodies, the external world. So I don't see that as black pill. I mean, I see this more as dependent, like codependency, or maybe blue pillars or something like that, or the learned helplessness, which is a dependency. And especially when I start hearing things like, you know, they want to alter their physique, they want to have leg extensions, and they're talking about dating markets and jaw lines and appearance. I'm just like, oh my god, this is so far removed. I just, unless I'm totally got a backwards way of looking at things, or something like that. But so to me, the best I can describe their way of verbiage is kind of like I apologize, but it sounds like emo. You know, it's like the bleak pill. It's the boo-hoo, I need a cuddle. It's kind of infantile. I mean, I look, you know, my kid gets frustrated. I can't do this. It's too hard. And I'm like, you know, listen, honey, you know, like, you'll be surprised. Give it a try. And lo and behold, she's able to, you know, needs a bit of practice, and you have to encourage and be, you know, have this, don't have such an expectation that you're going to do it first time. You need to factor in that you're going to have losses, or you're not going to succeed, but that's part of the journey. And you become more encompassing instead of having a rigid approach to life. And that's a point I think every pillar, or every person, whatever field of walk of life you have, is to be wary of this rigid view that you see the world with. Because if we take all the pills as a over, if we overseer the pill, why do we have these pill descriptions? Like, what the function does it serve? What are the pros and cons? We start to realize that no one pill is triumphant, really. Each one carries its own blind spot, and that's an important point to note. They have the pros and cons as well. So I think a lot of people who listen to the stream are quite familiar with the blue pill and the red pill, and they can kind of see both sort of worlds and how practical they can be, and weigh up the advantages and disadvantages and things like that. But even if you were able to encompass the red and the blue pill, you're still not covering the blind spot of the what if or the other, which hopefully is what the black pill is sort of trying to cater for, that niche. So that really, if you wanted to have the ultimate pill, as it were, you would be taking elements from each of them. You'd carry each of these pills, and I've been hearing about white pill recently. I'll have to look into that further. I mean, I've heard in the past about you've got purple pill, yellow pill, and whatever, rainbow pills or whatever. I think, once you get to that kind of point, you're getting a little bit silly, a bit carried away. But even then, the black pill would be asking the question. It's very inquisitive, the black pill, from what I imagine or whatever. It asks like, why do we have why do we have to have this kind of pill analogy? Like, what is it representing really? What is the symbolism, and why do we need this symbolism? Is it because we're such visual people that we need to have something like a pill? Is it because we associate it with a form of like medication? So are we saying that we are ill and that we need these medications in order to feel better or to regulate ourselves? What does all of that mean? And you see, so if anything, like I think a quick like delineation between the red and the black, for example, and this may be a little bit clunky in an explanation, but you could maybe say that the red pill kind of like provides you with answers. Like, so let's say you're a blue pill and your world isn't quite working out the way you dreamed about. So the red pill, you start taking a red pill and it starts giving you enlightenment. It starts making you aware. It starts giving you that critical mind. Now, the black pill doesn't really give you any answers. It just gives you more questions. So you could almost say like the black pill is like a secondary line of questioning. And the answers are ones you have to, like I was saying earlier, are ones that you have to find out for yourself. And as such, it's hard to have definitive answers with the black pill because it's not necessarily what matters to other people. It's what matters to you. So there is, in a way, no real right or wrong answer. The whole point there is the fact that you're actually asking these questions and you're exploring what it means. Now, in terms of, like we like to talk about narcissism every so often, pretty much every time, for a narcissist who is rigid in their personality, it's a rigid disorder, they would find it very hard to have any other line of logic going on. So you might have maybe a narcissistic blue pillar, and they just will not compute with red pill or black pill or anything else. It simply doesn't exist. The world is how they see it. And so to have this awareness and consideration and appreciation for other people's way of looking at things, and to be able to switch gears yourself or switch your line of logic requires, to some degree, empathy. You know, so as you can see with the narcissist, they have a lack of empathy. They're very rigid, and so this makes it harder for them to think any other way than the way that they're going to see things, by hook or by crook, or whatever the expression is. So I think it's a good practice to even if maybe you don't really gravitate towards a black pill philosophy or mindset, to at least like entertain the idea, because you might be pleasantly surprised. There might be things there that you weren't quite realizing, you didn't know before. And I think you might also be pleasantly surprised that I believe that many of you, now and again, will say something black pill. I don't even realize it, you know, especially when you classify things as internal and external. So for the record or whatever, I generally see the red pill as largely externally based. So when you're talking about the system, when you're talking about relationships, when you're talking about schooling, when you talk about laws, we see how this is all external. Yes, it puts you in danger and jeopardy, and where do you fit in all of this? But when you start asking questions like, who am I? What do I want in life? What does trust mean to me? What are my morals? What are my principles? What is it I believe in? What truly matters? This is where I see that is, to me, a black pill language, because it's kind of like it's saying like the world outside doesn't really matter. You know, it's what matters to you. And you can see there's a blind spot there, because obviously if you're only introspecting, only thinking about yourself, you're oblivious to you're shutting the outside world off. Then you run a gambit in a way. You know, you run into other problems, because you're becoming more antisocial if you're not careful. And if you're not careful, you start slipping down this sort of depression, because if you haven't got the support, or you haven't done the mental gymnastics and exploration, it's easy to see how someone could be overwhelmed by all of this. You know, you can send someone crazy. It's like if I start saying to you, like, like maybe this is all a simulation. Maybe none of this is real. Maybe you don't even exist. You can see how that could send someone around the bend if they're not careful. And maybe that's transitioning a little bit further away from the black pill. So yeah, so when I hear this stuff about PUA, kind of how your sexual market valuation, your looks, and all this, it saddens me, in the sense that I think we've got a long way to go with these people. I mean, if this is what is bothering them or occupying their time, to be concerned with how long their legs are, then this is going to be a long road. I'm just quickly looking at the comments. I know it's some Hobo Jack's here. Okay, we're gonna. I hope the troll has been extinguished. One with Oki's avatar. So thank you to the mods for taking care of the trolls. I thought we were done with trolls here, but I suppose, you know, it is what it is. Okay, so Iridium sort of mentions here, I've just never heard of it in a context of a positive context, and yeah, that's what kind of like frustrates me or upsets me, is that it's, yes, there is that element of it's all collapse, you know, like the catastrophizing. It's like, what's the point of it all? You know, like, why was I born, or nobody loves me, or and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that that is not a valid argument to be making, but the question, see, again, the question is like, and what of it? It's like, okay, fine, like things are collapsing, fine, you know, you've been dealt a poor hand in life, fine, you got illnesses, fine, you're poor, fine. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit here and mope about it and expect me to hand you a box of Kleenex so you can wipe your tears? I mean, what is it you're after here? Why can't you be more honest and say, if if it is that you're hoping that someone will look after you, why can't you just say that? You know, and instead you want to play the violin. So that's the like, you know how there's a bit of a push for mentoring. We need more mentors. I mean, this would be like my little plight to the world. We need more um acknowledgement, or we need to find that little glimmer of hope, or whatever it is, the sparkly that is within the black pill, and not be so doomer gloomer about it. Because otherwise, the question, what functionality does it serve? What gain do you get from being such a miserable sob? You know, it's like, are you deliberately trying to push people away from you? Is that what you want, so that you can moan that you're lonely, but then there's no one around for you to moan at? So it's kind of like, make up your mind. You become a contradiction, you know. um, and it starts to bring up other issues, like, are you actually, now this will be a sensitive one to say, you know, are you actually a normal person, you know, like neurotypical, or do you have some sort of disorder, and that is why you struggle so much with making a positive change? So are these words that are being spouted out, is this really someone who is talking with a critical mind, or a critical mind um, beside their emotional needs, or are these words coming out of someone who has some kind of disorder going on? Because then it doesn't really matter what pill they are. We're not really dealing with pills anymore. We're dealing with a disorder. So that's another worry, is that whatever it is that that we as a larger audience are seeing, or witnessing, or hearing from whatever kind of spaces, we need to ask ourselves at some point, is like, is this a pathological behavior? You know, is this their disorder emanating, verbalizing, expressing itself, manifesting itself? Or are we dealing with someone who is just simply, maybe not simply, but someone who is misguided, or lacking the awareness, and they just need a bit of encouragement? Is this someone who maybe is in a phase or a transition? So we can see the other considerations, which can, if we're not careful, be overlooked. You know, and it doesn't help if they're going to be preaching like, no, I'm totally normal, everything is good with me, I'm just a black pillar that is very depressive, or very this is what I believe is true. It's the question comes along, it's like, are you trying to convince me of that, or are you trying to convince yourself of that? Are you egocentric? You know, because if you're mentally unhealthy and you're egocentric, this is a bad combination. You know, and this means you won't be able to have the awareness to realize that you're that how you're thinking is is um is downgrading. It's not good for you. So I mean, I suppose for us outside, dealing with, air quotes, such black pillars, I mean, this is where I suppose you'd have a little bit of, you have to remind yourself of your boundaries, to not be sucked in and play along, to contribute to their, you know, because it could be, if this was more of a disorder characteristic that you're witnessing than a ploy, then you can see how they can rope you in. You know, they could say something like life sucks and what's the point of it all, and then you say, well, would you mind clarifying that for me? And then now you basically opened Pandora's box, and now they're like, well, this sucks, that sucks, they just take advantage of me and all the rest of it. And here you are trying to raise their esteem, which is really what the whole point of it was about, which was to try and recruit you to be their source of esteem, to perk them up, to make them feel better because they can't do it for themselves. And why should you be doing that? I mean, you might be trying to like go through the process of logical steps to see how they came to such a conclusion, but uh, uh, but without you maybe not realizing it, they're really doing that so that you are catering to their needs. You're doing the legwork for them, you know. And again, another question comes up, like, what is the whole point of that? Because now well, this is why I suppose in a way it's the codependency, the learned helpless. Like I like learn like a difference between depression and learned helplessness. Just remember, with learned helplessness, their kind of motto is I can't. Like I can't do anything. I'm incapable. I'm powerless. You know, that's different to someone who's depressed, who is like, no, I mean, you know, like I have the ability, but my emotional deficits, or my emotional, but I'm emotionally injured, and it's like an obstacle preventing me from doing what I want to do, instead of just resound like I can't. It's beyond me. I mean, if that's the like, what's the gain there? There is no real gain there. It's like you're not learning how to stand on your own 2 feet, which is the whole point of maturation of life in a way. Again, my opinion. Maybe it's not yours, but in my opinion, the idea is that you get old. You know, you mature. You self-develop, and eventually you die. You know, because who would want to live forever? But yeah, so I mean, thank you, Iridium, for that comment, and I think that kind of encapsulates, to a large degree, the problems we're seeing, and because of that, this is why I think it's overlooked or shunned, and the pearls of wisdom unfortunately slip through the net. So hopefully, with this stream, I'm trying to show that yes, there's a lot of filth to filter through, but there must be, theoretically, there must be some benefit to it. Otherwise, what kind of like what function would it serve? Yeah, you need to weed out the lazy think people. I mean, some of that also applies to red pill, but you can see how with red pill, some of it can be shortcutted for you, where you watch a few videos on red pill content and they tell you the answer. Well, they tell you the problem, they kind of give you a solution, and then you think, all right, I got the answer. I didn't really have to do much thinking for myself, like independent thinking. Whereas with the black pill, you know, I can't tell you what the meaning of life is. It's kind of irrelevant. Or I can't tell you who your sense of identity, who are you? You know, you have to really do that for yourself. And the question then becomes, do you have the tools to be able to do that for yourself? And then this is where, like, the vulnerability starts to show through, because, you know, if there isn't much of a sense of self there, it's kind of like looking in the mirror. Maybe you're too scared of your own shadow because of what you might find. Combine that with the lowest self-esteem, you know, shame and things like that. You'd rather not know. So then you're pursuing a life of trying to escape who you are. So then you can never really. Then how can you call yourself a black pill if and say that you're after truth, when truth is the last thing you're really after, because you're trying to escape it, because you're so vulnerable, it hurts you. There we go. Black pill equals nihilism. Well, I hear that one a lot, you know. So I've already said that a couple of times. I don't know if it's worth reiterating it again. I'll try and sum it up. nihilism means it's by definition like nothingness, meaninglessness. That without it's a contradiction in a way, because you're giving a definition to something that has no meaning. So you see how it's a contradiction. How can you define something that has no meaning? So it's kind of tongue in cheek, but in the vacuum of space, we have matter, and we discover that we used to think it was very empty, but it turns out that there's a lot of stuff there. There's things like dark matter. There are like forces like gravity or whatever. So even though things might seem to have no meaning, or we're in a void of nothingness, there must be something there. And I think this is the purpose of nihilism, is to be like, so what? Like, just because you say nothing doesn't literally mean nothing. Not even nothing is a something, if that makes sense. It's kind of like the idea of no decision is still a decision. I hope that makes if you see where I'm going with that. So the point with nihilism, the way I see it, and this is why I like it, is it strips away the fluff and leaves what is absolute, undeniable, like objective reality, essentially, the raw truth, as abstract as it may be. Still, it's there, and it cannot be swept under the rug, or close your eyes and pretend it doesn't exist. It's inescapable. It's the reality that comes and bites you on the backside. When all is said and done, nihilism cannot be escaped, because it kind of follows. So I look at it as part of the circle of life. You can't have life without death. And so if you don't like nihilism, in a way, what you're saying to me, or how I interpret it, is like, I don't like the idea of death. I wish death didn't exist. And it's like, well, if that was true, if there was no such thing as death, then how can there be life? So if you really want to enjoy the things that you want to enjoy, and have a life that you dream about, and all of this, you need to have that consideration for the other. Another way of looking at this would be like the yin and yang, or black and white. You can't have, or light and dark. You can't have one without the other. So as much as you might want to idolize, let's say, light, as much as you might want to be in the light, there would be no light if there wasn't a dark. So you have to be kind of grateful for what the darkness has contributed, for that light to exist, and really, hopefully you'd reach a point where you would have a balance. You wouldn't have a life of complete virtue, because you'd realize that was silliness. That would be perfectionism. That would be narcissistic. So life isn't always going to be on the ups. There's going to be ups and downs, and this is what gives a life more of a quality aspect. It's not always going to go in your favor, and that's okay. You don't have to get bent out of shape over it. There are those dips in the road. And so if someone's dwelling on nihilism, they're consumed and engulfed with it, okay, yeah, that can be a problem. The way I look at it is just like, hey, it's part and parcel of life. It's the contrast to the things. Like, how do you know what you want unless you have something to contrast it with things that you don't want? How do you know what is good unless you have a contrast with things that are bad? How can you have morals if you don't know what is immoral? So with nihilism, it can help tool you with the skills to better evaluate, to have and that's the funny thing, like, it means nothing. It's meaningless, but yet it can provide the greatest meaning of all. It can be the vessel that takes you to what truly matters to you. And I think, and that kind of explanation, I don't see it really expressed. Maybe there is, I don't know, but when you got people who are complaining about their legs, the extension of their legs, I don't see them talking about in a kind of positive kind of, in a way that I'm trying to describe. So I'm trying to fill in the gaps here, and I don't know if it's helpful. Maybe I'm the black sheep. Red Pill in the Winds here, JR's here, yeah, and Tim. I forgot to say hi. I shared your comment, and anyone else I've missed out. Okay, I see something about, all right, black pill guys need to hit the gym and work on social skills would fix most of them. Right. So this is kind of like a two-prong. Like, I would agree, because one, you've got the physical benefits of doing activity, like the hormones, the endorphins. There is scientific proof that it can, like the dopamine and whatever, oxytocin can lighten, can give you levity, and that can get you out of that kind of rut of depression. So yeah, great. But when you're doing it in order to fit in better on a social level, see, this is where I'd be like, that's more of a red pill leaning, or maybe a PUA kind of leaning reasoning for hitting the gym. So if a black pill is hitting the gym so that they could feel, because they recognize that their esteem is low and they need to care for themselves with some compassion, and this is why they're doing the gym, then great. Yeah, maybe that's sort of a black pill approach to it. But if they're doing it for social acceptance, not necessarily because it's something they want to do for themselves, they just don't want to be left behind, then I don't see that as really black pill. So, but as an example, as such, whatever example anyone like puts forward, you can see how you have choices. How do you want to look at this? Do you want to look at it from an external viewpoint, or do you want to look at it more of an internal viewpoint? And someone who has a greater degree of self-mastery, in my opinion, is able to accommodate both. They would realize that being a die-hard black pillar isn't really the way to go about things, and being a die-hard red pillar isn't really the way to go about things either. So there's a little, maybe sometimes this is why you might hear the sort of red/black pill type of person, in the same way you hear of the purple pill. Oh, JR, you hurt my fifis. Nah, it's all right. I mean, it's kind of funny because it's like, yeah, it's kind of like the positive way of looking at this, like F the black pillars. It's like that F your feelings, and it's sort of true in a way, because it for the black pillar upon hearing this, should really be like, you know what, you're right. You shouldn't really be caring about me. I should be caring about myself. Yeah. So it's almost like tough love that JR is giving them. It's like, F your feelings and F you. Now you sort it out. It's not my job to make you feel better and give you a cookie or whatever. That's on you. And if you want to mope around, then F you again. Oh, is this a bit of exit the dark night of the soul. Deep. That's sounding kind of like a black pill thing, It's making you think. And I think that's another sort of quality of the black pill, is the abstractive quirks, where, like with the red pill, because it's kind of critically, it's like, look, here are the facts, here's the statistics, here's the logic, here are the hard truths. Boom, there you go. You know, there's not really much escape or avoiding it. But because the black pill is a bit more because the black, you know, the void, it's hard to see where there's a boundary. It's more prone to this problem of misinterpretations. You know, so reading this, like, exit the dark night of the soul. I mean, how many different ways could we uh, uh, not dissect, decipher this message? You know, are you saying that my soul has night and day? You know, and what do you mean by exit? Are you saying exit as in go into the light, or exit as in exit out of my soul, out of body experience? So you can see how you go on a you bumble around in this chaotic maelstrom of thoughts and ideas, and again, why not only is it prone to misinterpretation, but it also leaves you to a large degree vulnerable. I already mentioned that earlier. Like, black pill is more vulnerable than the red, because you imagine with the red pill, it's kind of like, these are my boundaries. I'm in my fortress. I've got my logic. I've got my statistics. Hold the line. I've got the wall, and go no contact or whatever need be. It's quite distinct. But with the vagueness of the black pill, and hopefully with the acknowledgement of sensitivity, because I think with the red pill, in that sense, it's sort of like protection. It protects you, and ensures your longevity in a way. It turns you into a kind of like a thick-skinned warrior of sorts. But the black pill is trying to, because of that introspection, it's kind of like it's going towards that inner child, those core wounds. So it's very sensitive, very vulnerable. But the point I'm trying to lead up to is that it leaves you exposed to manipulators if you're not careful. And this perhaps is why, when we have these emo, bleak black pillars, a cohort of other supporters to this definition starts to gain gravity and seems to outweigh messages like what I'm trying to convey over to you this evening. They take the forefront or whatever. So there's that to sort of consider. Like if you got inexperienced black pillars, or inexperienced introspective, reflecting individuals, then they can be manipulated pretty easily. And they might hear something like, oh yeah, because you rank 5 on looks, no wonder women aren't going to find you attractive. And they can quickly sign up and be like, yeah, I agree with that. I'm a black pillar as well. Yeah, it sucks being a level 5 or whatever the grading is. And damn it, I want a girlfriend, but I can't because I've got rubbish genes. It's my problems are my genetics. And it's like, no, the problems is your attitude. You want to argue with genetics. Like, I'm diabetic, but I've got a kid. How's it I managed? So you can't give me that kind of excuse. So yeah, another kind of like find the good or light in the darkness. Yeah, I mean, darkness serves a purpose. It's like good and evil. It's like, we want to rid the world of evil. It's like, well, if you do that, then you're going to rid the world of good. I know it might suck or whatever, but you can't have one without the other. Which is why, like, if you want to, now here's a controversial idea. It's like, if you want to eradicate the devil, for instance, would you therefore be eradicating the idea of God as well? Are the two intertwined? Okay, here we have an interesting one. So Mikhailo says, I'd say Black Pill offers zero solutions, whereas Red Pill does offer solutions, whether people want them or not. And true, I would agree with that. And this is the sort of point, in a way. It's like the Black Pill isn't supposed to offer you solutions. You are supposed to offer you solutions. You're meant to find out for yourself. And whatever solution you might derive at might not necessarily be the right way of going like this. So you might make a mistake. You might think it was a good idea to do such whatever it is, and realize later on that actually that was a detriment and caused me problems. But lesson learned, not to do that again. So it's not a total waste. In a way, it kind of helps you in finding the right solution. There was a kind of funny one I heard about, I think it was like a scientist, where they're doing a science experiment, and it catastrophic, it fails. And they say, okay, all right, I've just discovered one of the million ways that this experiment fails. It's kind of like, so they're one step closer to finding the solution. And the other kind of like a Black Pill sentiment to have alongside with this is like, you might not ever find the solution. Now, isn't that going to be a bummer? Then you're going to have to ask the question, well, what's the point? It's like, the whole, that is, exactamundo, that in itself is the point. It's are you willing to sort of, do you want to, like, why, like, you're looking for a solution, why? There's something you're not happy with, or whatever. There's something you want, or so we're asking. It can, if you're not, you can see how Black Pill can be very problematic, because it kind of like I can see how where it doesn't get you anywhere, because you're too busy spending your time ruminating on what does it all mean, and what's the whole point of it all, and all of this. But this is where you have to kind of hopefully like have that higher level of thinking, in a way, where you'd be like, look, I've spent the whole of last week non-stop thinking about this. I haven't attended to my daily chores. I think I'm gonna have to stop ruminating, at least for now, so that I can get on with like cooking dinner, cleaning up, have a shower, go to work, or whatever it is I need to do. You can't neglect your duties and responsibilities. So you have to kind of like compartmentalize, or at least give yourself a little bit of a deadline or closure, and be like, look, I'm going to spend however much time entertaining these ideas, but at some point I'm going to have to, in order to not be stagnant and analysis paralysis, I have to make some kind of decision, even if it's an uninformed or an iffy, but I have to do something. And maybe that's the whole point of it all. Like the thought experiment, what is it called? The trolley car, or the train car, where there's a train, doesn't have to be a train, but like a train, and it's got two tracks. One track has one person tied to the track, the other one has like 5 people, and you have to decide, like, do you sacrifice the one person, or do you sacrifice 5? You've got to make up your mind, and which one is morally correct. And my sort of response, although I heard a clever one, which was, don't touch the controls, because then you're not actually the one making a decision. That's sort of like avoiding accountability. But my approach would be, it almost doesn't really matter. It's just make a decision. Not making a decision is probably the worst thing to do. So whether or not you killed 1 person or you killed 5, at least you made a decision. whether or not it's the right decision is kind of neither here nor there. If they would only hit the gym and work on social skills, that would fix most of them. Well, it might solve some problems. It might bring up new problems. Because I'm sure it's not going to be just the gym they'd have to worry about. Now you'd have to be like considerate of your diet, you know. Okay. So Iridium Kush says, Outlaw, I agree, but the red pill should be a temporary stop, not a permanent location. And I agree with that. It should be a gateway to MGTOW, and I agree with that. Or something of the sorts, you know, like a transition. Generally speaking, I look at the pills as we mentioned earlier, like this is about awareness, acquiring awareness, and on a kind of on a scope way, you know. So you got blind spots, and so you acquire the awareness so that you can see into areas that you were that were unknown to you. And so this is why I'm like, when people say, "Are you a black pillar?" It's almost like saying, "Are you a college student? Are you a post grad?" You know, something like that. And this isn't a competition of like a blue pill will be like nursery, red pill would be elementary, and black pill is like higher up the academic ladder. It doesn't quite work like in that sense. I mean, there are fundamental, crucial lessons you learn in nursery that you know aren't going to be taught to you in your university level. So it's not a competition. I mean, and the university is sort of the way of looking at that is not compulsory. You know, far more people are more successful without their university degrees, aren't they? Right. So you could say that having the university black belt degree is a hindrance at this point. You know, but I'd be more comfortable to say it was more of a case of like as chronological age rather than academic level. So you would have the young mind with the more adolescent young adult, and then the sort of grumpy old man is the black pillar who starts to regress back into his childhood. And you see that sometimes where you hear about black pillars who seem to be acting a little bit like blue pillars. And be like, well, maybe that's the analogy, is that they're regressing. They've gone full circle. We have Mandy here. I don't know. I've been hearing stuff. I've been hearing things down the grapevine. Okay, like this. I trust, well, most of you, my mods. So I trust most of you to be taking care of the invaders. Shinobi One's here. Good evening. Okay, yeah. So the leg lengthening. I heard this once on a black pilled panel. Can't make it. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised. And yeah, it's you know, but is it solely restricted to black pillars? Like, would you hear a blue pillar saying something like this? Now, I've seen blue pillars, or well, they're not really. They wouldn't proclaim they're blue pillars, but you know, they're kind of like cuckolds or chumps or simp kind of thing, and they're men, and they're painting their fingernails to show their support for raising awareness for whatever campaign. And you know, it's all flamboyant, kind of like, oh look, isn't this neat? Now they're not trying to convey that they're gay or they're trans or anything like that. It's just girly men who allow themselves to be dolled up for the sake of somehow raising support or whatever. Now I know it's not the same as a leg extension, but the point is I'm talking about like sort of compromising integrity or bending the knee to get the approval of such and such or whoever who which is an expected entitlement, because what's to say that you go to these lengths and these literally extremes, and it doesn't actually pan out the way you thought it would. I mean, that would be a kick in the gonads, wouldn't it? So men should move past the rage stage quickly. It's not a healthy state to stay in. No, I agree. The thing is, like, ideally, it would be good if they can get past it quickly. Also, done efficiently enough. You know, you don't want to sort of go through it quickly and then realize later on that you didn't do the processing, you know, or whatever was needed, and now you have to kind of backtrack and go start at square one again. You know, it would be better, like, if you need to take a time, then so be it. At least process that stage properly, or at least to the best that you can, so that you don't have to backtrack. And no, it's not why do you want to live your life in that state? Do you want to live the rest of your life being angry? Like, what's the gain there? You know, and there I was talking about being Blackpill can be mentally taxing and exhausting. Imagine how exhausting it is to be constantly raging. Yeah, and you're missing out on life. So the red pill used to be called the truth, just like parkour used to be called running from the cops. Yeah. Now the truth, well, it's kind of like a separate. Oh, yeah. Let me see. Is my tea still warm? I've got some 3D prints that teach. It's like their illusion, and how can I describe it? There must be a proper terminology for it, but I don't know what it is. But listen, you got like a square, right? But when you look in the mirror, the reflection of the square makes it look like a circle. So the question is it really a square or is it really a circle? And the truth is kind of like it's kind of neither. It's both. It's a bit of a hard one to sort of like. It's neither square also, but it's both at the same time, and it's because of the angle at which you're looking at the object, which is why it can mess with people's minds, because, you know, they think they're looking at a square. You put this mirror next to it, and it's like, hang on, what kind of magic trick is this? So the overall lesson is truth. It depends on the sort of perspective that you look at it. So in that sense, you can have multiple truths in a way. But yeah, an interesting point. I'll try and get some images up or something so I can show you. It's quite fun. Okay, so we see we have some stuff about troll accounts and shenanigans. Okay, more. I'm just glossing over as any particular sort of black pill. Try to keep on subject if possible, and otherwise we've pretty much said enough, I think. Oh, I can feel a sneeze coming. Excuse me 1 second. Pikachu. All right. Oh, there we go. So the pills are in reference from the Matrix movie, I believe. Yeah. Generally, I think that's we hear that quite a bit. Well, see, kind of this goes off into a branch, because you could make an argument like both pills keep you in the Matrix in a way. Just because you take a red pill doesn't mean you've escaped the Matrix. You're perhaps in another simulation. You know, think of like along the lines of like a Total Recall kind of thing. You know, so Neo, the character Neo, he might not really be Neo. He's just in another matrix that, in that world, he wears the sunglasses and whatever, and runs along throughout the movie. Maybe he never really left that bathtub cocoon. But then obviously that would suck if the whole movie was just watching someone sleeping in the bathtub. Ooh, here we've got some romance. I didn't know this channel was a place where love is in the air. Feels good. Yeah. See, ladies man, you can't hide it. He exudes the suave, the sophistication. Okay. Right. So, I see the word black pill. Right, the black pill is just the arrival to hopelessness. Perhaps maybe it is. And is that necessarily a good thing or a bad thing? You see, more questions, more annoying questions. No wonder it can send people gaga. I mean, it is said that hope is the last to die. So the kind of advice is to kill hope. Hope is wishing for things. It's a reflection of your discontent with how things are right now. You're hoping for something else because you're unhappy with what's currently what you're currently experiencing. So you have hope. So kind of like a double-edged sword. It can help maybe encourage you to get off your backside and do something, but then another question comes along: was it really hope that did that for you, or was that your own desire and ambition and motivation and your own self-esteem that was propelling you, which would really be better because that gives you the locus of control there. That means, in a sense, you are your own hope. Why put prayers and your happiness in the hands of some sort of ambiguous saint hope, angelic savior to rescue you, when god damn it, don't you have hands? Can't you do it yourself? Isn't that the whole point? And so if that's the case, if you are able to do it yourself, then you don't even need hope. You don't need to look far. All you need to do is look within. Acknowledge that you have the tools. You already have everything you need. And if you might say, oh, well, but I don't have a torque wrench. It's like, yeah, but you've got money. Well, then you have what you need. You've got money, go buy a torque wrench. Now you've got a torque wrench. See, so you do have it. So the point is, it's like, do you have a brain? Do you have a mind? That is your greatest tool of all. And with that, you'll be able to achieve anything, essentially, theoretically, not to sound too hyperbolic or silliness about it. Have some realism there, but you get the idea. So that's the problem I have, Billy. The black pill offers no out, only questions. Yes, MGTOW offers an out. Yeah. Well, this is why it's kind of like it's sort of like a bolt-on. It's kind of like, because otherwise I don't feel it's like a complementary package. I don't think the black pill is meant to like replace MGTOW or replace the red pill. It's to enhance it further. Like, because how many times do you want to necessarily have the same kind of topics of the gynocentric landscape or the elites in power, and what should we do to have better security and your investments? That's all well and good, and I'm not throwing any shade on that. They're essential, but like I was saying, how I think the black pill kind of fills in a few of the gaps. Like, where's your air quote, like, the healing coming from? Where is the Now, maybe like something like fulfillment, maybe that kind of rides the fence a little bit, because Red Pill does talk about, do things for yourself. But I think with the Black Pill, it's the more, or it's an additional fulfillment to add on. So maybe what I'm suggesting is, you need a baseline of Red Pill, or the groundwork of Red Pill, in order to have maybe it's like a luxury, or because of the time commitment involved, the luxury of to doing that Black Pill or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with this statement that Kush has put here. I mean, it's not really supposed to be offering you an out. I mean, if anything, it's kind of like it's giving you more homework to do in a way. Stuff that it's pulling out the skeletons out of the closet, things that you might have thought were done and dusted. It's like, are you sure about that? Because why do you still keep a skeleton in the closet? Like, I thought if this was a closed case, like, wouldn't that skeleton be in the ground? What's the sentiment? What's the reminder for? And you'd be like, okay, I can finally, I can get rid of that skeleton now. But even then, that's not really the Black Pill telling you to get rid of that skeleton. It'll be your own prerogative to be like, oh, right, yeah, I realized I was keeping that skeleton as a reminder to I don't know, to spook myself or something like that, or whatever. But yeah, so in terms of maybe like pragmatics and more instantaneous, or the here and now, or getting priorities in order, then yeah, like the Red Pill and MGTOW kind of gets you on a good track a lot quicker, and there's a lot more support. It's not ambiguous, it's kind of clear cut, it's definitive. It has solutions, it has answers. Even if it goes off in tangents, it's not without closure. They could be like, look, you could either do option A, option B, or option C. Make up your mind. But with the Black Pill, it's like, but there are no letters. It's just like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to do? It's like, I don't know. You have to decide. It's like, but I can't decide. It's like, I know. That's the whole point. Why can't you decide? It's like, God, Billy, you're making me crazy. Damn it. It's like, I know. But is it you crazy, or maybe I'm crazy? Billy, I hate you. Like, yes. But why? So yeah, and just like how Kush, I think it was you that said it earlier, like, don't let it consume your life, so that your life, the definition of your life becomes, the Black Pillar. It's like, no, that's not who you are. You are not the Black Pillar. You are not the Red Pillar. Come on, aren't you a man? like bare bones, like, don't. This is the problem with like having banners of virtue, where it's like, my definition is now dependent on social negotiation, and if society changes the definition, then I'm going to have a problem, because it means that my self-image has altered and I have no control over it. So that could be like a positive sort of Black Pill message. It's like, who you are is not your banner of virtue. Like, and if you need it more clear with a Red Pill language, you are a man. You don't need to be abstract about that. No, like, you are purity of light and source of harmony. It's like, what the hell? What do you mean by that? Okay, we're 1-2, miss a few, and jump down the chat here, because I want to kind of, we'll be here all night otherwise. So Outlaw, staying in the red pill zone too long can lead to rage, and that is equally as unhealthy. Yeah. And it has its ebbs and flows. So you might come out the rage, but then you might go back into the rage, and kind of flows around. And the rage isn't necessarily restricted to just the red pill, but we see the, or maybe it's kind of like an over damage it can cause. It's easy to see the damage it can cause. Whereas maybe if you had black pill rage, I haven't really thought this one out very far, so I'm freestyling it. But if you've got like black pill rage, maybe that's kept more covertly, and maybe that's more in a direct self-harming sort of format. The red pill rage might be more overt and indirect self-harming. But all in all, rage, anger, it needs to kind of be processed. I don't really hear anywhere where it says just to let it run amok. Let your rage run wild. Let it be free. It's all right to kick the cat. Like, no. I see my name at Billy. It was 3. They're out of here. What was 3? Trolls? I don't know. But if they be gone, then all good, and well done. And thank you to the mods and everyone here. Working teamwork, everybody. Working, we're gonna like pinpoint, triangulate, or whatever. Hone in on the scoundrel. That's it, Billy. Don't dwell in that stage. Yeah. Well, the thing is, right, as much as we say, like, don't dwell in the rage, don't dwell in depression. Now, think about it, don't dwell, as much as it's good to be happy, but, don't be drunk on the Kool-Aid, and life is, I live in La La Land, everything is wonderful, bliss, sunshine and rainbow. That's delusion. So whatever state, so it shows you that, that these ups and downs and these happies and states of depression, these are emotional, and emotions are phased. It's like when my kid is very angry or she's in pain, I say to her, like, don't worry, honey, it's not forever. It will go, like, time, give it some time, it will pass. So this can in part be that maybe the sorrow aspect, where you hold on to cherished memories because unfortunately they're gone now. But with maturity, you'd realize that dreams must die. Otherwise, you're in a delusion. Otherwise you're holding on to something, that you're holding on to a corpse of a memory. As fond as it was, and this is one of the problems we have with photography now, where people don't bother exercising any memory brain cells because they're reliant on cameras to remember for them. Now, as sad as it might be that you might have pictures in a way in your mind, and those memories fade, especially like in old age with dementia or something like that. Yes, it's sad, but it's part of life, is what I'm trying to say. It means while you remember those pictures or memories, you have a greater appreciation for it. How much appreciation you're going to have when you have a photo stored on a device. You might have some, but it's not going to have the same emotional impact as the one that you hold in your heart, as it were, figuratively speaking. So, and obviously, like stagnation is a killer. So whatever, if you're stuck in whatever emotional state, be it sadness, anger, happiness, elation, relief, it's not going to be a good thing. It's there's things that need to be addressed. Now you can look at going back to that. Sorry to add on. You can look at bipolar for that. where they're in their states of manic depression, and then they're in their states of mania. Like, now mania sounds fantastic, but it has huge problems, because people who are in mania, they don't sleep, and they're so full of energy that it's taxing on their body. They're exhausted by the end of it. So stoicism is a good point to bring up. Maybe we won't get into it tonight. We're gonna have to start kind of like skipping along here a little bit. They told me I was a Blackpill Chad on this panel. A Blackpill Chad. Again, total BS. It's so much more than that. The emo bleak pill Chad. Yeah. I mean, it's quite a caricature, like, that kind of develops. It's kind of cartoonish. How, and that's kind of like in part why it's sort of easy to make fun of them, because it's like, boo-hoo, woe is me. I got one leg shorter than the other, and what's the point of it all? Yeah, Blackpill gets so much wrong, and this is, it makes me think, like, maybe it's me. Maybe I got it all wrong. I was being told by one of you gentlemen that the things I was saying is more in line with white pill. So maybe I'm more of a white. This stream is more of a white pill stream. I'll have to get back to you on that. But for now, anyway, this is my take. I'm not saying it's the gospel of Blackpill. Blackpill is a stage of awareness of the system. I think maybe of an internal system, but it's a self-defeating pill. It causes you to quit working on yourself, and that's the I think this is the error, the myth, the result of misinterpreting the functionality of the black pill. It's not. I don't think it's supposed to make you quit working on yourself. I think it's supposed to remind you. It's like, hey, you've been slacking, and you really kind of like the opposite, really. And it does so by sort of trying to rub your face in the mud in a way. Like, look how lazy you are. Like you haven't been doing the things that you've been doing. So I'm gonna. It's kind of maybe a little bit like I'm gonna shame you in order to change you, sort of thing. So it's like, yeah, you do look like a loser. How about you give yourself a shave and have a haircut, you dirty bum, And then these emo black pills don't hear that latter part of the message. They just hear, oh, I'm a dirty bum. It's like, that's not the point. The point is that, have a haircut, have a shave, wash your clothes, wash your balls or whatever, and come on, like, eat healthy and do something about it. But the first part of this statement here from Outlaw, like, the black pill is a stage of awareness of the system. Yeah, and well, I think that's what the red pill is really, is not focused, but like talk deals with. Like, I think the black pill is more the internal system, as in like the process and how you your line of logic, how you make these leaps in judgment internally in your mind. Like, is this a good way of thinking? Are you making a blunder somewhere? Have you got denial that you are oblivious to because it's denial, and you have to deny the denial, otherwise it's kind of like a contradiction. Otherwise, you're aware that you have the denial, and now you have to take responsibility, or somehow come up with a feeble excuse why it is you continue to have this denial. So it's the out of body experience of introspecting in a way. It's seeing, it's being able to stand outside of yourself and being able to see what's going on inside, objectively, and then having the awareness that as objective as you might like to think you actually are very biased, and this is perhaps why you see things the way you do, because you have this bias built into you. Now, whether or not this is a useful trait to have, or it needs some calibration, or it's a hindrance, this is what that awareness of evaluating brings into question. So, but I mean, maybe there is like also some truth, because it seems that society is trying to, along with many other kind of unfavorable characteristics and traits, one of them is trying to encourage, not only it's like you are all criminals, guilty until proven innocent, but that there's nothing you can do about it. So this learned helplessness. So a cultural black pill with this sort of definition is being encouraged onto people, perhaps maybe worth investigating or toying with the idea further. Something about being obsessed over every part of it. Okay, something a bit should be one. So I'm guessing that because we're all playing on our black mirrors, and I talk about phones, that we have prepared and are in a holding pattern until the shift happens. Ooh. Not sure what you mean by that, but being held in like purgatory, in limbo, waiting for our call to shift, our call to our duties, until we're summoned, get back onto the plantation or into slate, get back to your post worker, miner. Meanwhile, we're just staring into the black void of the mirror. Well, yeah, I mean that's a good point here. Like, so here's the difference: do you want to give up or better yourself in life? Right. And there's no real prize other than the prize you can give yourself. So no amount of cookies could I give you to say, well done, you actually got off your backside, here's a cookie. It's not going to be anywhere near the pride you would have with yourself, the self-validation, the self-gratification. That means more than any external. And this is why I see it as a problem when you're basing everything in your life externally, where it's like breadcrumbs. Yeah, it might make you feel better. Oh, look, everyone said I did good today, maybe feel a little bit better. But then they go home and they're eating the ice cream and they feel miserable again because no one's there to make them feel better. So you need that kind of ability, and that's the deeper question. It's like, do you have that ability to be compassionate or kind enough to yourself to be able to have that self-esteem to say, hey, you did good today. You don't need anyone to tell you that. We know it, deep in our bones, like in our core. Or do you want to give up? And and where does that get you? And that's where this perverse comfortability, because maybe that's the learned helplessness is a stream for another day, but it can become comfort because it's familiar, and it's like a perverse form of a sense of security. And so if you've got someone who's vulnerable, they're fragile, they haven't got the tools or confidence and the esteem and all this to change their situation, the adoptive approach is not hard to see why, is self-preservation, is to do little. Like if I put you outside butt naked in the cold and you're, in hunger, you'll curl up in a fetal position to keep your body as warm as you'll adopt survival mode, and you'll switch into a state of self-preservation. You won't really move. You'll keep quiet because you don't want to get attract predators and whatever other survivalistic traits or tendencies you'd expect someone to have. And this is what happens with learned helplessness, where it becomes a state of self-preservation, survivalistic. I ain't gonna do nothing. I ain't gonna make bother. Even if the door of the cage was open or freedom was only like 2 feet away, they wouldn't escape. They've become comfortable and feel secure with not doing anything. Very dangerous and very sad. Okay, what's this? Blackpill equals Chad and Stacy worship. Stacy. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Yeah. And that's what every time I hear like some of you guys talking about, your run-ins with these black pillars, and they're talking about stuff like this, I'm cringing. I'm just like, no, man, no, damn it, I'm gonna have to like, and this is why I'm doing this stream tonight. It's like I'm gonna have to like push back on some of this, and I don't blame any of you for like, it's funny, it's like but I don't know. Okay, that's the problem. But all I hear is I can't. There's no out, no solution. Yeah, and this is what I'm saying, and that's why I don't think this is really black pill. They might call themselves black pill, but I don't think they even know what it really. And it's why I don't think they know what it means. They can't really go. From what I gather, like with Bullets, like he's never really heard a proper explanation of it, And if their explanation or their answer is I can't and there's no way out, no solution, that's not really an excuse, because you could easily turn around and be like, and so and what of it? Like what you expecting me to give you a solution? Are you expecting me to give you a way out? You expecting me to do the things you can't? I mean, then you'd be like, so what's the point of you even being here then? Are you just a waste of, like, not to make it worse, you would like you do it with, you'd be mean in order to be kind, but it'd be like not to encourage them to sort of self-delete, but it's kind of like so what is your life is a mortal hell? Is that what you're saying to me? Like you'd be better off under the ground or something like that? Is what this is between a rock and a hard place? Like I ain't keeping you here. If you want to go, then adios. Don't blame me for that. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, you want me to? Is this your cry for help? You want me to stop you? Put down the knife. Like you want me to be Captain Saberho or whatever and swoop in and fly off into the night and into the sky with you? Like, don't be daft. Now maybe it's a case that they don't know how to articulate, or they're too embarrassed. They got the shame aspect. But these you can see how. That's why I was saying, like, it's a long. If this is their mentality or attitude, it's a long road of. Unfortunately, it's going to be painful before they realize, oh, all these years of me complaining, saying that there's no solution, no one is coming to my rescue. If I want my life, if I'm that discontent with my life and I don't really want to end it, then I'm going to have, what other choice do you, you're going to have to do something about it then. And maybe then they would realize, damn it, you mean all this time, the answer really was, I need to get off my own backside. And it's taken me 10 years to realize this, Now you've got another bunch of problems because likely by then you'll have regret, to overcome. Um, but yeah, I mean, again, like Iridium, I'm in agreement. Like this is the impression I'm getting is this kind of response of like I can't. There's no point. Uh, what's the meaning? It's a load of crock, you know. And it's kind of like, why are you telling me this? Why do you want me to be miserable like you? Are you trying to convince me that there is no meaning or whatever? I mean, I found purpose. I found reason. I'm having a good time or or whatever. So what is it? What is it you're trying to achieve here? Are you trying to tell me that there is no point to anything, that you can't, in order to fool you, like to lie to yourself, to give you to double down on this belief that you can't, and which is under which really indicates that deep down the honest truth is you bloody well can. That is why you're saying you can't, because you can and you just don't want to. Now, what are the mechanisms for that taking place? Like, is it because you're lazy? Is it because you lack the education? What is it? Are you so pain adverse that you can't bear to be uncomfortable for even just half an hour or an hour to go to the gym, like Kim was suggesting? Like, what really is um, your your pitiful excuse? Like, you can't just say I can't and expect that to that shit to fly with me. You know, it's like a loaded excuse. There's so much to unpack with such little words there that you know it's a baloney. But the thing is, it's almost like, and you're going to disrespect me in the sense that you think I'm going to accept this. Now you might be saying it to me as a reflection, like you want to basically like play it back in your own head that you can't. So I'm just like a mirror, and you expect me to stand here and do that for you so you can bounce your own voice off my skull so that it can go back into your ears so that you can tell yourself that you can't. Well, then I'm out of here. You can do that on your own. You don't need me for that. We'll find some other pleb to do that with, because I know that it's a load of BS. you know Now, if you're able to have a conversation with them for that long, you get to a point where it's like, you and I both know that is a load of BS. But yeah, I mean, it's 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 I know it's kind of like frustrating for them, but for us on the receiving end, like, I don't know, Chris, you would say, like, would you find it frustrating hearing this as their plight? Oh, I can't. It's like my kids saying I can't tidy up. It's like, I know you can do it because, or I can't put my socks and shoes on. It's like, I know you can do it because as soon as I say, well, let's go to McDonald's, bam, your socks and shoes are on in a flash. So, like, it wasn't. What happened to the I can't? I know you can do it. You've proven it to me. I can't carry my bag. Oh yeah. But when we're going out to somewhere you want, your bag is overloaded with your toys and you have no problem carrying it. But when we're going to school, suddenly you act like an old granny. Oh, dad, carry my bag for me. No, it's your stuff. If it's heavy, maybe stop putting so much crap in there. Yeah, man. You got to see the game. I mean, you can imagine all of this is coming down to these are games they're playing. It's just another kind of game. The woe is me pity dick game. It's like, I'm not wiping your tears away with a pity dick. Do that yourself. Oh, wait. What's this? I have Blackpill questions. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, the black sheep, the black pill, yeah, or the black goat or whatever. Like the caveat of my explanation is here with what from the feedback I'm receiving, the impression I'm receiving of other people's definition of black pill. My retort is that it's no bloody excuse. You can't say you're a black pillar as an excuse for you not to be doing anything with your life. Like, it's not a get out of jail free card or a free pass in life. Just in the same way, just because you're a red pill doesn't mean you get a free pass in life. If anything, it gives you additional responsibility, because now you know. Now you have to be accountable. Now you can't be naive, or you can't be innocent and say like, "Oh, I didn't know," because you do know. You've been told. It's been brought to your attention. You call yourself a red pill, right? You call yourself a black pill, right? You're supposed to know. Otherwise, what are you doing? Is this just a badge, jumping on the bandwagon just for clout? Like, no, like, it doesn't work like that. If you're doing that sort of thing, then you're going to quickly land flat on your backside when your reality comes crashing down, and you realize, crikey, damn it, you mean I have to actually put some effort in? It's like, oh yeah, no shit. Like, you have to put some effort in. If you want it easy, then climb back up your mother's cuckoo back into the womb where it's all nice and comfortable, and that's easy. But for the rest of us, there's no way back, and I don't think any of us would want to go back. So you're gonna have to like toughen up here and take on the burden of truth. Like, this is another thing. Like, people going about, oh, I'm a truther, I like truth, me, and all this. Yeah, I stand for truth. It's like, really? Okay. Well, that comes with a huge burden of responsibility. You know, do you have the spine to tolerate the rigors of truth? Because that means you can't be pussyfooting around and living like a daze, like a fairy. It means, you know, the rubber meets the road, hard graft. It means blood, sweat, and tears. It means you're going to have to put some effort in. It means the responsibility. It's like, oh, I'm responsible, me, or I'm accountable. Yeah, I say I'm sorry now and again. It's like, I'm not talking about saying sorry now and again. You know, no, there is much more gravitas or whatever with these characteristics or traits, or however you want to describe them. Anyway, so both the red and black pill are extremely toxic in any large dose. Yeah. You know, and there's that. It's like, this is one of the dangers. I used to warn about it before, where people will have that red pill content binge watching habit addiction. You know, where all they're doing is just watching content after content after content and they're forgetting their life, and their life has now become the consuming, like, as consumers of red pill. Like, and I described it as basically you're occupying your time with trying to I refer to it as like archiving your data banks. Like, you don't even care what data you're accumulating, you're just collecting. You become such a collector that you just want to store all this information, which you're not actually bothering with. It's it's obsessive compulsive. You know, you've got this itch, which is like, I need, I haven't got enough. And now that compels you to be like, I must collect, I must consume, I must archive, I must fill up my data banks. You know, it's like, what for? Take what you need, move on. Like, in a way, when people talk about divorce court, right? I don't really need that information. I'm not married. You know, I didn't go through divorce court. I can't share any of my experience with divorce court. So I can kind of like skip that chapter of the red pill in a way. I don't need it, really. I mean, I know of it. You know, it's okay to dabble in different areas, But to have this encyclopedia knowledge, I must know every aspect of the red pill. Do you really? Is it only then you'll be able to actually get off your backside and live your life? You know, is this so? Has it become so? Have you used this archiving of data collection as an excuse to stop you from actually doing the things that you need to be doing? Oh, I see something about black pill. So one of the black pillars said to me, "You don't have to be black pill because you have the perfect jawline." Can't make this shit up. And this is what I mean. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he can have surgery for that. Out of, I don't know, perverse curiosity, I shared the video with GM once of like the medical procedure to transition from male to female. I don't know, just for kicks and giggles, but it was kind of interesting. So they break the bones in your skull and transfer other bits of bones to sort of uh, reaugmentate the shape of your features. And one of the parts they mention is, you know, how they chisel away um, the mandible, and the bottom, you know where your chin is. They'll slice and dice that up a little bit, take out the middle portion of bone, but together the side pieces, and now you've got a more pointy feminine chin. I was like, oh, so that's how you do it. Interesting. And like the female eye socket is more round, so where your eyebrows are, they'll chisel the ceiling of your eye socket to make it more round, and bingo, you got more feminine eyes. It's like wonderful. So if this black pillar really wants to, if they're willing to get their legs lengthened, then what are they bitching and complaining about? Go get your jaw fixed then. I'm just flying through the comments because I'm pretty much, I think, at the end of my rant. Ah, what's this? Billy can't read American that. Oh yeah, can't. I thought it was a thought. Billy can't read American that well. Oh man, did I mispronounce something? No, I'm not very good at reading in general. Okay. I can't imagine wanting to knock on the door of the abuse department. And so who haven't I said hi to so far? Bolo, Tom, Howdy. I don't know. Did I miss anyone else out? I apologize if I missed anyone out. I'm not ignoring you. Uh-oh. My truth. Someone talking about a squirrel. All right. Oh. Damn it. Mr. Cush, you're giving me palpitations. So he hears that black pillars say their philosophy is better than MGTOW. This is more evidence to suggest that they don't really understand what it is they're talking about. They think they're black pillars, but they don't really grasp what it entails, or there's some communication breakdown, some misinterpretation going on. I believe, anyway. And what it is, I don't know. Like I'm trying to imagine like this. maybe I need to have a conversation with some of them. I mean, if on the one hand they're saying everything is nihilistic, pointless and all this sort of stuff, but then somehow it's better than MGTOW, how does that make sense? So, Billy, you remind me of my interview with Vital Message. He said he absorbed elements of the black pill. Yeah, well, I'm hoping that's. Look, hey, maybe I've corrupted some of you guys listening here tonight, because maybe if you're like going, okay, I agree with some of what Billy said here, and I'll be like, ha ha, it worked. And now the black pill seed is in them. Like, damn it, Billy, you've corrupted my data banks. But yeah, I mean, I kind of, take what you need and process it, integrate it, adapt it, modify it, whatever you need to. I think in a way maybe that gives the black pill a little bit more freedom than the red pill, because of that abstract quality about it, where I mean, just a moment ago I was talking about the problems of misinterpreting, but it's that sort of double-edged sword where, because it has that vagueness and abstraction and maybe a lack of boundaries, you could say, that you could either take the positives out of it, or you could take the negatives out of it. There's nothing stopping you taking either. And unfortunately for these so-called black pillars, they seem to enjoy taking the negatives out of it as a bit of a cop-out, I'm suspecting more and more. Yeah. And I think basically the same principle in most walks of life, I think. It's kind of like maybe as a general rule of thumb sort of thing. Like, you take what you need, even if it's something that you might not be interested in. You never know; it might be useful. It might, maybe you could modify it a little bit, and now you find a use for it. And you be cautious of going balls deep, unless it's something you're really passionate about, like a hobby. But even then, yeah, just as Kush says, like, don't dwell, don't let it consume you as well. Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna have to look up the white pill. Oh, you responded to and criticized my stream, Billy. Don't you know I'm above criticism, Billy? Don't think I've forgotten our chess rematch, Kush. I'm coming for you. Got a vendetta. Oh, me, I hurt your. Who is it hurt my feelings? Wasn't it JR hurting my? Everyone's getting butt hurt today. All right. Ah, yeah, it's a cautionary note. Yeah, they want to keep you in that echo chamber, and that's the thing. And this is where it starts transitioning. Like, so this really isn't about pill philosophy or like pill dynamic. This is more on the lines of like disordered psychological behavior. To keep you in that like, don't abandon me. And I don't want to be alone, because I hate myself so much that I can't stand being with myself. I need other people to make me feel better and to help facilitate my escape from being alone with myself. I mean, in that sense, like the psychological analysis of personality disorders would fit in better at explaining the behaviors we're seeing than any of these pills lenses that we might want to look at it. And that would be an uncomfortable one for them to acknowledge. Oh, man. I'll wave the black flag. I'm glad you enjoy it, JR. I'm hoping this is a useful stream. I know I jabber and blabber and Miranda around. I'm trying to keep it on point. Okay, so is it time? Oh, wait, before that one. Wait, my jawline is perfect, Billy. Yeah. They're like, is it, who is that famous, I should know this because I used to be into sculpting. The statue, is it David, the famous, who did David? Was it Michelangelo? The David statue? We need to get iridium kush made out of marble. Chiseled. Yeah, so what the GM says? Is it time to appropriate the black pill? Well, I don't know. I mean, this is the thing. I don't know. I'm just trying to give a different perspective. And one, hopefully, that has a better explanation as to, like, why do we even have a black pill? What is it? What purpose does it solve? It must be some sort of benefit. And hopefully we're exploring, okay, maybe it might not have a self-improvement kind of benefit, but if we're looking at it as more of a disordered personality behavior, then we can start seeing how having this kind of way of this delusional way of thinking to that person might be beneficial. It's not, I mean, it's self-destructive fundamentally, as these disorders are, but you can see how the escape from having to face reality at whatever cost is paramount importance. So in that sense, this is how it's sparing them in a way by denying them the ability to. It's like, I'm so scared to live my life because of the responsibility and facing up to my duties and being accountable for myself, and I don't know how. I'm so afraid of having to face life that I would rather become immortalized in a living death. And if I am dead, then I have not lived. Then I cannot die and I cannot be hurt. So in this kind of weird way of looking at it, through this living death, they can stop feeling a pain, and instead they feel numb. And so if you ask them, what is it that hurts you so much, they might not be able to tell you exactly. Like, it would just be a sensation. I just feel numb. I feel so much pain, I don't even know anymore. I don't even know if this is all a dream, you know. And that's very sad to hear, and very tragic. Rightio. I'm going to call it quits now. I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah. Hope that was helpful. Don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm going to start getting all these black pillars on my case. And just thinking, is there anything I need to quickly mention? Not really. Oh, I've got a couple of ideas for topics for the next stream. I've got one which will be a kind of easy one, which is like a recap takeaways from toxic relationships. So basically, like, I encountered someone earlier who seems to be a bit new. Like, they're talking about their wife left them, and they're confused. They don't understand why it happened. They have a slight inclination of hearing, like, maybe it's some sort of disorder, but the impression I got is that they're a novice. You know, they don't know the general takeaways of having dealt with a toxic partner. So basically a narcissist, but not limited to. So it might be helpful just for the newcomers. I don't know if it's good as a revision for the rest of us. You know, there's that topic, or I've got another topic on self-care, and we can explore how pain is a teacher, or something else some other topic can jump the queue, and we could tackle that. Or obviously you can always, whenever, like, leave a comment, suggestion, or email me any requests or something like that, and we'll see if we can cover it. But until then, let me think of something morbid to leave you with. Like, I don't know. I'm a bit, my imagination, the not the crimson, I don't know, the black goo. The black goo is coming for you. You know, hope you sleep well tonight.